Okay, so I'm going to try and cover a lot of different ways on how to use Docusign today. Normally when I do these, I only do either basic Docusign or advanced Docusign. I'm going to try and cover both today, hopefully. So I'm going to start with the basics. So it's the most simple way to use Docusign, not necessarily the most efficient, but if you don't have a huge grasp on Docusign, this will probably make the most sense to you. So I'm going to start in web forms. So you will be using web forms to fill out your paperwork, just how you should. Well, you guys who are new maybe aren't used to it yet, but if you're experienced, you should be used to web forms. So I just went ahead and I created these three. Three is plenty for an example. So I created a transaction kit. I just called it Mickey Mouse listing. And I filled out 3 documents. So I'm just going to start by downloading these documents. It is easier for you at the end of the road if you download these documents separately. When you're filling them out, you can download one PDF. So it'd be one PDF with all 3 of these combined. It will make your life easier if you download them separately as 3 separate PDFs. Okay, so just a little tidbit there. So now that I've filled out my documents in web forms, I've downloaded them to my computer. I'm going to go ahead and go into Docusign. So to get to Docusign, let me log out of this account and log back into mine. I'm going to start by making sure my contact is in my contacts of command. So who do I probably not have in here? Jen, I'm going to use you. I don't think I have you as a contact. We're going to put Jen Dennings. Is it Jen or Jen Dot? Dot. I would normally put a phone number in here as well, but it's not necessary for Docusign, so I'm just going to create it with just her name and email. So now that I know she's in my contacts, I'm going to go to opportunities and create an opportunity. So remember, an opportunity is like a transaction or a potential transaction. Now in this case, that was listing documents that I downloaded. So we're going to say that Jen is my client and she's ready to list her house. So it's going to be an active listing. So when I go to create opportunity, my market center is Keller Williams Select Realty. That's my only choice. If you are on a team, your team will be here. Here, it's very important if you choose listing or buyer appropriately. This is the only thing that cannot be edited later. So if it's a listing, make sure you're choosing listing. If it's a buyer, make sure you're choosing buyer. Owner, again, is only related if you're on a team. And I don't think anybody on this call is on a team that I've seen. No, none of you are on a team. So
Erin, if I went and I put, say, buyer instead of listing, it would just mean I couldn't go back and edit, or would I have to add a new contact?
You wouldn't have to add a new contact. You would have to delete this opportunity and start from scratch.
Perfect. Okay. Easy.
Okay, so none of you guys are on a team that are on the call, so ignore owner as well. So now under client, that's where we're attaching our clients. So this is why you had to make sure they're in your contacts. Okay, if I had 2 sellers, I'm going to put the other one here. Opportunity name, we really prefer if the opportunity name is the transaction address. You may not know that, especially if this is a buyer opportunity. You might not know what the transaction address is right now, but you can edit it later. But if it's a listing, especially if you're doing listing paperwork, you know what the property is. So we're going to call this 987 Main Street. If you want to use tags, you can do so here. Some tags may be where you got this business from, but that's just for you. And that has nothing to do with Docusign. Estimated closing date, you're not going to know out of the gate. Listing price, we're going to say it's $250, and my commission rate is 2.5%. Now I said that we're doing listing paperwork, so it's going to be an active listing, right? So I'm going to leave it in the staging stage because that's the first thing I'm going to do when I get a new active listing. And then assignees, again, is only if you're on a team. So now that I've created my opportunity, you can see it's called 987 Main Street. Here are my two sellers. I'm going to click on the Documents tab, and then I'm going to click Start a Transaction. When I click Start a Transaction, that opens Docusign and automatically creates a room for me. So in Docusign, the folders are called rooms. So every transaction will have its own room. Every time I need to do something related to this sale, I'm going to come back into this room and do it from here. So when everything related to Jen and Jess selling 987 Main Street is going to happen in here. Okay. So to start, we're going to go to envelopes. This is really cheesy, but it does help people remember. Every time you send something from Docusign, you have to put it in an envelope. So if you think of real mail, you can't just put documents in the mail without an envelope, right? So just think of that every time. Every time you want to send something, put it in an envelope, okay? So we're going to create a new envelope. And the envelope name, so what are we sending in this envelope? So in this case, it's the listing documents. We already know it's related to 987 Main Street. Every envelope in this room is going to be related to 987 Main Street. So you don't name it 987 Main Street again. So now we're going to add documents to the envelope. So which ones are we trying to send? So because I downloaded those from web forms already, I'm going to click More and Upload. So now when I downloaded those, they went into my downloads folder. So here are those 3 documents that I downloaded. So I'm going to add those here. It'll take a second and they will appear. So now I'm adding my recipients. So who needs to sign this paperwork? Who's getting it? I'm going to choose room participants. And if you scroll to the bottom, these are all defaulted. Linda and I have access to your Docusign, so we're always going to be there. You can just ignore that. But so down at the bottom, so you can see me as the agent. So it says listing agent 1 because I created the opportunity and it's my Docusign room. And then my 2 sellers are here automatically. So because we put those in command in our opportunity, it pulls through into Docusign. So I'm just going to hit add selected. You can choose an order of like the order that the recipients receive this paperwork. It's not always something you're going to want to do. Like when I'm sending this listing paperwork to Jen and Jess, it doesn't really matter who gets it when. So it's not always something you're going to do. Now, if you were writing an offer on a property, you would obviously have your buyers in here to sign the offer. You may add the listing agent as a recipient here, but you'd have to make them number 2 so they don't receive it until your buyer is done doing what they need to do. And you would change that listing agent to just receives a copy. So obviously the listing agent isn't signing anything when you're writing an offer. You just want, as soon as your client's to sign, it will automatically go to the listing agent. Now, most people on this call are pretty new. You may not want to do that out of the gate. You should read it over after your clients sign it, make sure it's okay. So yeah, don't get in the habit of that until you are comfortable writing offers and you know that you're doing it correctly. So email subject, this is just whatever you want your clients to see when you send it to them. And then you can write a message. So, hey, here's the listing paperwork that we went over. Call me if you have any questions, whatever you would normally say there. So now I'm clicking next. And And now I'll be placing my signatures and initials. So I didn't mention this, but I added myself to this envelope as the listing agent because I have to sign it. Agents need to sign the listing paperwork. So whenever you have to sign, you have to add yourself. Also, if you wanted to make any corrections to it, if you needed to add any text boxes or anything like that, you also have to add yourself, even if you're not actually signing. So just keep that in mind. Okay, so first we have the working with a realtor. So I know both of my clients need to initial right here. So over on the left-hand side, we have a drop down, which gives us everybody who needs to sign. So I need Jen to initial. She's one of my sellers. So I clicked on Jen, and now I'm putting a blue box right here. So you can see everybody has a different color. So Jen is blue. Now I need Jessica's initial, so I'm going to click on Jessica. Everything turned purple. And I'm putting a purple initial box here. Good with that? Okay.
Erin, if
Yeah.
you need somebody new to be signing that, can you add them after the fact?
Yeah,
Like when
so
you're
you
in there
can
working like now?
click, so while I'm doing this right now, I would just press this back arrow and go and correct it. If I already sent it and realized I missed somebody, there is a correct button. You can go in and correct it then. I can show you that after I send this. So I filled out this paperwork in web forms, so it's already filled out. So now I need signatures. So I need Jessica's signature. Gotta make that smaller. Now, whenever you use signatures, you have to use the date signed stamp as well. So that will automatically be filled in with the date and time that they sign. That is a requirement whenever you're using any sort of electronic signature. So I need Jen's signature here as well. And so I'm just going to smush this one down in here too. So now we're on to the SDBA. So again, it's filled out in web forms, and I need their initials here. So I know on the next, I think 2 pages of the SDBA, I need my client's initials in the exact same spot as this page. So I'm going to save myself a little bit of time. And if I drag over both of these initials, you can now see that they're like highlighted. Now, if I press on my keyboard, Control-C for copy, or if you're on a Mac, it's Command-C. Now, when I scroll to the next page, I can press Control-V or Command-V, which is paste, and it's going to just copy and paste that. So it just saves some back and forth clicking, right? And so again, I need their initials here. So I'm just going to press Control-V again, and they get pasted there. So now we need some more signatures. So we need Jess is one of the sellers and her date. I need Jen's signature with her date. And here's where I have to sign. So now I've got yellow. There is some other little features you can use. They're really not important, but I'll just point them out. If you have OCD like me, this drives me crazy that these aren't aligned. I can drag over them all so they're all highlighted and use these buttons over here to align them. So if I click this one, they're going to all move to the furthest left, so they'll all be aligned with the yellow one. Really not important, but I like it.
That's CDO, by the way, not OCD. It's the same thing, just alphabetical order.
And so then same with these guys, I can move them over if I want to. Not important, but some people get really excited when I show them that. So obviously I'd keep going, keep filling this out, but I think you guys get the gist of it with these 2 documents. So another thing to note, if you are not clicked on any field, so right now if I'm clicked on this field, the menu on the right is related to that field. So it's saying it's the recipient for this one is Jessica. If I put the wrong one, I can change it from here. there's other formatting things in here, but you're not going to use that too much. If I'm clicked on the document, so I don't have any fields selected, it just shows me a preview of all of the pages. See the blue and the purple tabs? That means my blue person and my purple person, so Jen and Jess, have to do something on this page, this page, this page, this page, and so on. And then you can see yellows on this one because that's the one where I have to sign. So if I keep scrolling through these, I can see, oh, look, there's nobody has anything on these. Quick glance, I know I missed something, right? Now I can come to this page and make sure there was nowhere. Actually, I don't think clients initial this page, so it's actually okay. But this one, they do have to sign. So I know I missed something because there's no tabs on here. Okay. So now I click send. It sends the documents. Jen and Jess both just received emails. You can see it says needs my signature. So I'm going to click on that to come in and sign it. Mike, here's that correct button. So if I click on correct, I can now correct things. So it brings me back here. I can add another person if I needed to. Maybe I put Jess's email in wrong, or maybe I spelt one of their names wrong. Anything at all, I can come in and correct that now. Okay. So I'm just going to press discard changes. That's what you were looking for,
Boy, I
Mike?
needed that this weekend.
Okay.
Yeah.
Whew. I don't know what's happening here. So I'm going to go ahead and come in and sign. So you can see also what it's waiting on. So there will be times when you have two clients and they say, yeah, we both signed. And you're like, well, one of you didn't because it's not complete. You can click on the envelope and it will tell you who's completed and who still needs to sign. So for me, I just have the one signature. It automatically puts in my time. So it's 10:18 a.m. and finish. Now, when Jen and Jess both come in and sign this, we will, all three of us will get an email saying completed. Why does this still say needs my signature? We'll all get an email that says completed with all of the documents attached at the bottom. I don't know why that didn't work. I did. It's just having a moment, I guess. So any questions about that? That is the most straightforward way how to use Docusign. It's not the most effective because we're downloading and uploading a bunch of times. Any questions about that method?
I have a quick question, Erin.
Yeah.
If you click correct, you might have actually said this, but I don't remember. If you
Yeah.
click correct, you can only correct like the names in the emails. You can't actually correct the form. The only time you edit the form is in web forms.
No, you could.
You could?
Well, let me go into it because I don't think Jen signed. So here I'm back to my envelopes. My envelope still says it's waiting for others. So I'm going to go in. So you can see here, it's telling me that me and Jess both signed and Jen didn't. Jen, it's fine. You don't have to sign it. But so if I click correct, you can pretty much do anything except for if it's going to affect something that Jess signed. See how these say locked?
Yep.
So it says documents are not editable if at least one recipient has completed an action.
Gotcha.
I can add another one. And then I can add signature spots to it and send it. But now because Jess has signed this, it won't let me edit it. So if you catch your mistake before they signed it, you can edit. Otherwise,
Docusign?
you can't.
Okay, because I was doing all my editing on web forms and then uploading it back on the.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Docusign.
That's how I suggest it. I suggest filling out your documents, then uploading it here. Web forms is much easier to fill on.
Okay.
However, you could put like a text box, like if you needed to add like additional provisions and you forgot to when you were in web forms, you can
Mhm.
add a text box and then type it in.
So I did that with a client,
Yeah.
but when it came up the recipient view, it looked like I could only see the text that I put in.
So that's when the ordering would be important. You'd have to put yourself first, because then
Okay.
yours would be completed, and then when it got to her, the text would be completed. Do you know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. But the preview that I was doing was prior to sending them, so that
Exactly.
would make sense. Okay, cool.
So when
Thank
you send it to yourself, technically you can then change the text.
No, okay.
So you know when I sent you your KW paperwork to join, you guys could fill in all those text boxes. That's because I assigned the text fields to you. So anyone who signs beforehand, it's just blank because it could change.
Makes sense. Thank
Make
you.
sense? Yeah. Okay, so that's the first way to use it. A little time consuming, but straightforward. Agree? Okay. So what if you have a listing and then an agent emails you an offer on your listing? You can download it and you can upload it into your envelopes here to get your seller to initial it and sign it. Or you can forward the email. I should have prepared this.
You want me to email you something, Erin?
Yeah, I can just email myself something really quick.
Okay.
See all the emails from Docusign I got? I don't know. I think I'm on a new device. I don't know what it's doing. Okay, so now I got this email from a buyer's agent, which has a offer attached to it. So I can just forward this email to my Docusign. So to do that, from your Docusign, if you click on inbox, you have an email address right here. Everyone see that? So if I send anything to this email address, it comes into my Docusign inbox. So I can forward this to that email. So you can save it in your contacts, like Jen Docusign or something like that. So you don't have to like look it up every time. So I can send it this way if I want to, and it will eventually appear into my inbox. It does take a few minutes. It is pretty slow coming through. So if I sent it right now, it would eventually appear in my inbox. Or if I come to my room, there's my 987 Main Street. And I take the ID number for my room and make that the subject line. So hashtag, and then whatever number the ID is. And I send that. Again, it does take quite a few minutes. That document will eventually just appear in my documents. So if you change the subject line to include the ID number, it will come straight into your room. If you do not change the subject line, it will just come into your inbox. And then you would just, when you have something in your inbox, you just choose which room it goes to. So either way, it works fine. So then once I have a document in here, when I create a new envelope, instead of clicking upload here, I'm just going to choose room docs and I'd be able to choose it. That one hasn't appeared yet. It always takes quite a while. Does that make sense? And then you continue on the same as the other way. Good?
Yep. Aaron,
Okay.
it's nice to see the efficiencies. And I mean, basically it's the basics now. And I guess once you finally do your first one is when you really see how it
Exactly.
happens.
Yeah.
And I like how you're showing us just the efficiencies off the get-go too. And
Mhm.
it makes sense. But not until we actually
I
play
know.
with it, I guess.
It's something you really need to practice.
Yeah.
Okay, so another way that you can use documents are by templates. So Jess and I created a whole bunch of templates for you. So it's basically all the documents you would need out of web forms and then all of the KW forms as well. So these, some people love them, some people hate them. I love them for your property disclosure statement and your trade record sheet and the KW waiver, the inspection waiver. Other than that, if you're filling out like a listing, I think it's easier to use it in web forms. Obviously, you guys can choose which way you think is more efficient. So I'm just going to show you some of the documents that I like to use templates for. So let me go back out of here and I'll just start from scratch. Okay, so I'm in my room, 987 Main Street. Oh, look, that other form just appeared. There was 3, now there's 4. So that's the one I forwarded from my email. Okay, so I'm in my room, 987 Main Street. I'm going to go to envelopes. I'm going to start a new envelope. And we're going to name this one. So you might have an envelope just called your trade record sheet. So when you do a deal, you have to do a trade record sheet. I think it's easier to do it from Docusign in your templates. So if I just need to fill out my trade record sheet, I'm going to name the envelope TRS, use a template, shared with me. You always have to click shared with me because you didn't create the templates. We did and then shared them to you. It always takes a minute for this to load. Now I'm going to scroll down, or there's a search bar at the top. Trade record sheet. Add selected. Now it's really, really important when you're using the templates from Docusign, when you add recipients, you have to use pre-tagged roles or the templates won't work. So I'm going to click pre-tagged roles, and there's only one role for this document. So on a trade record sheet, nobody else does anything, just you as the agent fills it out. So it's looking for who is the agent. So I'm just going to choose myself, add selected. Now when I'm filling out a trade record sheet, I'm not concerned what this message is because it's only coming to me. Now this will be ready to be filled in. So property, 987 Main Street, Halifax, MLS number. I'm on the listing side, so I just double clicked in that checkbox. The sale price was $250. Closing date is April 30th. I'm not going to fill all of this in, but I think you get the gist of it. All the text fields are already there for you. Now you just have to fill them in. So I did make these text boxes optional, just because you may not know all of them when you're filling them out, but they aren't optional. We do need all this info, but it won't let you complete it if you don't fill them in, if they are required. So see how this text box is fully yellow, and then this text box just has a yellow outline. That means this one is mandatory and this one isn't. Okay. So obviously I would fill all of this out. Obviously the referral is optional because there may not be a referral, and then the team splits is optional because you may not be on a team. And I'll hit send. Now, when I get this one, it's not going to let me complete it until everything that's solid yellow is completed. So needs my signature. I'm going to come back in, sign. So I filled this in before I clicked send. I can still change it if I need to. These guys I didn't fill in before I clicked send, so now it's telling me that they're required. And I need to sign. Make sense? Hopefully this stuff is required, so hopefully you are filling all of this in, but I just didn't want you to get stuck and not be able to complete it because of those.
Erin,
yeah.
Can you go back? Can you save it and go back and change it or update it as you get the information, like lawyers and that sort of stuff?
So actually, let's do
Like,
that.
what do
So
you
let
do
me
with
click
sort-
finish.
Okay.
So I left some of this stuff blank and I'm clicking finish. So there is a way to do it. You can't come back into that envelope because it's completed. So if I go to my documents tab now, I can see the signed trade record sheet here, right?
Yeah.
So that's the one I just filled in. So there's the stuff I filled in. Here I left everything blank. So if now I can fill in this information, what I can do is go back to envelopes, do a new one. Trade record sheet complete, maybe. Now when I'm adding documents, I'm going to add room documents and add my trade record sheet signed. Add myself as the recipient. Oops. Click next. So remember, this is no longer a template. We saved it, we completed it, and now we're adding it in again, not as a template. So I'm going to have to add the text fields now. So now I could add text boxes and fill those in. Okay?
Yep.
So not super convenient, but definitely it still saves you from like printing it out and all that kind of stuff. Good with that?
Yep.
Cool. All right. The other one that I absolutely love using templates for is the property disclosure statement. So let me get out of here. So again, so I'm in my envelopes tab. I'm going to create a new envelope. PDS. Use a template shared with me. Always takes a minute. Property disclosure statement. Now my recipients, again, whenever you're using a template, you have to use pre-tagged roles. So the agent is me, seller 1 is Jen, seller 2 is Jess. Add. Because I'm sending this to clients, I would write a message here, but I'm not going to bother. Now for property disclosure statement, you guys all know what that is, right? I have a lot of new people on the call. Yeah, okay, good. So the important part here is when choosing who is seller 1 and seller 2, normally it doesn't matter. But in this case, you try to choose the techier person as seller 1 because they're the person who's actually going to be filling in the the PDS. So all of the text fields saying, I've owned the property since. Do you know of any problems with this or that? If yes, what? All that kind of stuff, they're assigned to seller 1. So try and choose the techier person or the person who knows more about the house, whoever you think would actually fill it out. Now, chances are they're probably going to be sitting together when they do it, but just try and keep that in mind. So I hit next. And when this loads, you will see.
And sorry, Aaron, while we're waiting there, just for a second.
Yeah.
So when we forward this again to the people that have to sign it, what about the office and the lawyers? Are they just to view or they to receive a copy?
So if you're including the lawyers in your recipients, you would probably do just receives a copy. I know some lawyers can be funny if you send them the difference between receives a copy and needs to view is with needs to view, they will have to open up Docusign. Whereas receives a copy, it's just an attachment on an email, and sometimes lawyers can be funny. And they're like, just send this to me as an attachment. So if you just say receives a copy, they shouldn't have any beef with it.
Okay.
Okay, so the PDS you see over on the left, I'm the agent and I'm yellow. So I'm filling out the property address and the PID number. But everything else on this page is for the clients. So blue is Jen. She was seller 1. So it's automatically going to put her name here. And then everything else she's going to fill in. So I/we have owned the property since. So she'll have to type that in. Then she'll be choosing, are you aware of any structural problems, unrepaired damage, dampness, or leakage? She'll be choosing yes or no. Then this text box is optional because I don't want to frustrate the clients. If they click no, I don't want them to have to type something in here. So that's why it's optional. Okay. Now Jess is purple, so her name will automatically just be filled in here. Now their initials are automatically here. Yellow again is the agent, so you're just going to type the property up here. And then again, seller 1's doing all of this. And then they're initialing down here, and same thing again. Make sense? So that one, it's really good for, the template is really good for this one because you don't have to have them print it and fill it out by hand or anything like that. Obviously, the techier they are, the better. Probably like 80-year-old sellers aren't going to love this. So obviously read your clients if you think it's a good idea or not. If I only had one seller, I would have, when I was choosing who's seller 1 and who's seller 2, I would just fill in seller 1. None of the purple fields would even show up here. Everything seller 2 related, because there was no seller 2 chosen, just would not appear on this document. So it would just have the one first full name here, and then this would be empty. Okay. So again, like the KW inspection waiver is good for this. Same sort of thing as this. It just automatically puts the initials and then they choose which one to initial. Now those initial boxes are all optional because they would not be initialing except decline and not applicable. They have to choose which one to initial. So there would be some coaching behind it. You have to tell them, you have to choose one of these for each inspection to initial. Okay. Okay, so the other way I am going to show you how to use Docusign, again, originates in web forms. So you can actually now this one is the most confusing. So if you're already confused by Docusign, you might not want to pay attention to this one because it's a little much. So just a heads up, I do like to show it because some people do prefer this way, but it is the most confusing for sure. Okay, so to start, so you can send documents directly from web forms to Docusign without downloading or uploading. To do that, you first have to, from in web forms, you have to click on this cart, find Docusign and click link, and then sign into your Docusign. So obviously I've already done that with Docusign, but it would be like this. Easy. If I had Easy Sign, I could link that. Okay. Then, bear with me because I'm not very good at web forms. I think if I go home. Okay, here's my Mickey Mouse listing that we were looking at last time. So if I click on this document, so if I open up the working with the real estate industry, there is a pen here. It says send to Docusign it when I hover it. So if I click that, it is going to open up Docusign for me. Now, there are two different versions of Docusign. There is a version called e-signature and there's a version called rooms. We work in the rooms side. It's the real estate side. Docusign, oh, one sec. I must have kicked my charger. Docusign is not made solely for the real estate industry. It's made for any industry. The rooms version is made for real estate. So the e-signature side is meant for anybody at all. So when you click on the pen in web forms to bring you through to Docusign, it brings you into the e-signature side. It's totally fine. You can still use it. Just there isn't the same sort of organization. So here, so it brought it through. I'm going to click add recipients and I'm going to put in my people. So there is no room, so it doesn't know who my sellers are already, so I have to type it in. So I don't have to do the working with the realtor, so I'm going to leave that blank. Docusign recognizes her email and is auto-filling it for me because I've put Jen in here before. So I'm going to put in my two clients, click done. Now, same as before, I'm putting in their initials and their signatures. Date signed. And I can send it and they'll get the same email. Now, okay, it's bringing me back to web forms. If I go to docusign.net, it brings me into the e-signature side. So if I go into manage and then waiting on others, I will see that WWR that I just sent them. Or not.
So what's the reasoning for using this side? Like, is this a side that you would most prefer, or?
I prefer it for non-real estate things. Well, I guess real estate things, but not client things. But some people just like it because they can click this and it goes. Now, obviously, it's proving me wrong right now because it's not in here. Let me see. Oh, delivery failure. That's why it's not waiting for others, because I probably put in Jen's email wrong. Yep, there's no S. There we go. So now that I fixed that, if I go to my waiting for others, it should now be there. I probably have an email saying that there was a delivery failure. There we go. So now it's waiting for others. Can you guys go ahead and sign that one? So this side of Docusign, there's no rooms. So everything's just kind of plunked together. There's no organization. That's why I don't like it. I use it when I send onboarding paperwork, but I store your documents elsewhere. However, it's nice for sending directly from web forms. I will show you how to get it to the room side as soon as they are done signing. They probably have a million emails from me right now.
So you're saying, okay, so sending it directly from web forms, because if you go in the other way and download it, the moment you download it, technically that's dead because if it gets changed, so technically you should be downloading it every single time and not really keeping it, correct?
It's up to you.
Or does the NSAR let us know that there's been an update and a change so we can re-download stuff?
I'm not sure what you mean.
I guess who the web forms there?
Yeah.
Who that comes like that's NSARs, are they not?
Yeah.
Right. So then if that document, to me, that's a living, breathing document. So once you download it, it's kind of dead. You can use it at that moment. But then the next time, a week from now, if you have another listing, you should theoretically, you should go back in and re-download a new one.
Yeah. I mean, but we're just skipping the downloading step this way. We
Yeah.
still filled it out in web forms and then we just shot it straight over to Docusign. So now that it's in Docusign, like it's not going to update. Okay. So now if I click on completed, I will see that document because they both signed. So here it is completed. So if I click on my initials up here, I can switch to rooms. So that brings me back over to the side of Docusign that we've been working in. I told you this one was confusing. Here's my 987 Main Street. So I'm going to click there to go into that room. I am going to go to envelopes. And I'm going to click actions up here and add existing envelope. So if I add existing completed envelopes from the last 24 hours, here is my completed Mickey Mouse listing. I can add that here. And now if I go to my documents, we should have, that's just the certificate. I don't see it. Keeps making a liar of me today. Oh, here it is here. So there is the document that I pulled through. So it's very confusing, but it does save the downloading and uploading and all that kind of stuff. You can choose whichever way you want to use it. And I should point out too, the way that I just did it when I clicked the pen in web forms, it brought it into Docusign. I could just leave it in the e-signature side. It's totally fine. This is just for organization, pulling it over to the rooms. Then down the road, when you're uploading these documents to KW, to Command to submit to the office, it's easier if your documents are in your Docusign room to attach it to the checklist. But you don't have to. You can leave it in e-signature, that's totally fine. But I have organization issues, so I need it over here. Any questions? No? Okay. I just wanted to point out these certificates that have randomly been appearing. So every time something gets signed by an electronic signature program, it's going to generate a certificate. You generally will not need them for anything, but don't delete them just in case. If you forgot to put the date signed field next to a signature, you're going to be asked for this. So it's just a certificate of the signatures from that envelope. So this one, certification TRS, that's why it's important you name your envelopes properly, because this is the name of the envelope. That's how I know which certificate this is. So I can see certification Mickey Mouse listing, certification TRS. Every time something gets completed, it creates a certificate. So it really just says who signed it, what their IP address is, what date and time, and all that kind of stuff. So here's my IP address, my email, date and time, here's my signature, all that kind of stuff. So generally you won't need these, but just know that they do exist. Any questions? Did I confuse you more? Ignore the last one I showed you if it's hurting your head.
Is there a way to upload it through command to go directly to Docusign?
No.
Okay.
You go directly from Docusign to command.
Okay.
Okay, because you would never, there's nothing, you don't put documents in command that aren't completed, aren't signed. So you use Docusign to get them signed and then they go to command.
Right. Okay.
Okay. That's a whole different training.
So Aaron, where is this going to be put once it's recorded?
On the YouTube channel,
Okay,
always.
awesome. Love it.
All right, well, if no one has any questions, that's all I have.
Thanks, Aaron.
No worries.
Thanks for your time.
Aaron.
Appreciate it.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, Aaron.
Thank
Welcome.
you.
Hey, Aaron.
Yeah.
That meeting this afternoon, do you know anything about that? The one for 2 o'clock for lead gen?
Nope.
Nope. Okay.
The Holly Priestner one, I
Yeah.
know that she's like a mega agent in Texas. So she used to be the regional director for Canada. So she knows her stuff.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.